I want you to imagine something for a moment. Close your eyes and picture your life as it is right now. The routines, the struggles, the frustrations, the little victories, everything that makes up your everyday experience. Now I want you to ask yourself a simple question. What if there was a single rule, a universal principle that could change everything? Not just in some small incremental way, but in a way so profound that your entire life trajectory could shift in an instant. This isn't some abstract idea. This isn't some motivational fluff. This is a truth that every high achiever, every person who's ever broken through their limitations has known at some level. Your life changes when you understand one simple reality, that the quality of your life is determined entirely by the quality of the questions you ask yourself and the beliefs you choose to live by. Think about it. Every single struggle you faced, every limitation that has held you back, traces its roots to a belief system you may not even be aware you're carrying. And here's the thing. Beliefs are not facts. They are choices. And when you recognize that, you gain the power to rewrite the story of your life. I know, because I've seen it happen, not just for myself, but for tens of thousands of people around the world. I've watched people who were drowning in fear, trapped by doubt, paralyzed by circumstances they couldn't control, completely reinvent themselves in months, sometimes weeks, once they embrace this one rule. And that rule is simple but powerful. What you focus on expands and what you feed grows. It's simple. Your mind, your heart, your energy, they are all constantly responding to what you give them attention to. If you spend your time focusing on fear, scarcity, or excuses, that's what grows in your life. If you focus on possibility, abundance, and action, then everything changes. The universe, life itself, responds to the force of your attention. That's the universal rule. That's the power you hold every single day. Most people don't realize this. They drift through life, reacting to circumstances, blaming the world, waiting for luck, waiting for opportunity, waiting for permission to be happy. And meanwhile, the law of focus is quietly shaping their destiny. Whatever you consistently give your mind, your heart, your energy, it grows. And you are either consciously directing that growth or unconsciously letting it control you. Now, I want you to feel this deeply. The moment you take responsibility for your focus, you take responsibility for your life. That's freedom. That's power. That's the key to transformation that no one can take from you. You don't need permission. You don't need a title. You don't need perfect conditions. You need clarity. You need direction. You need action. Every great life, every breakthrough, every revolution in human achievement starts with someone deciding to align their focus with what they truly want, not what their fears tell them, not what their doubts dictate, but what their highest vision demands. And here's the beautiful part. The universe supports that. When your focus is unwavering, your energy is irresistible, and your actions are massive. Doors you never imagined open, people show up in your life you never expected, and opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly become inevitable. I want you to ask yourself right now, am I feeding my mind what I want to grow, or am I feeding it what I fear? Because the answer to that question will define the next 30 days of your life, the next 30 years, the legacy you leave behind. So here's what I challenge you to do. Start today. Decide what matters. Decide what deserves your focus. And then with unwavering commitment, pour your energy, your attention, and your action into that. Watch how the world begins to rearrange itself in response. Watch how obstacles start to dissolve. Watch how your life begins to expand in ways you never believed possible. This is the universal rule. It is simple, it is profound, and it is always at work. The question is not whether it will change your life. The question is whether you will choose to use it. Your life is not a product of luck. It is not a product of circumstance. It is the product of your focus, your energy, and your decisions. You have everything you need to revolutionize your life. You just need to decide that. Today is the day you stop letting distractions, doubts, and excuses control your destiny and start consciously choosing the thoughts, the actions, and the focus that will create the life you were meant to live. Because once you understand this rule, once you apply it with relentless consistency, nothing can stop you from creating the extraordinary life you were designed for. Let's dive into something that has the power to completely change your life, something most people overlook every single day. I'm talking about focus, the power of where you put your attention. You see, most people drift through life reacting to whatever shows up in front of them. They get caught up in problems, distractions, the endless stream of messages and obligations, and they wonder why their life feels out of control, why their results are inconsistent, why they never seem to reach the level of success or fulfillment they know they're capable of. The truth is simple. Your life is the direct reflection of where you place your focus. What you focus on grows. It's a universal law. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't care about your excuses. It just works. Now, let me be very clear about this. Focus isn't just about thinking positively or repeating affirmations. It's about directed energy, about consciously choosing where you put your mind, your heart, and your actions every single day. When you focus on fear, scarcity, and limitation, you are feeding those things. You are giving them life, you are nurturing them, and they expand in ways you may not even realize. When you focus on opportunity, on growth, on what's possible instead of what's wrong, that is what expands. That is what grows. That is what starts to take over your reality. Imagine a gardener planting seeds. If they constantly water the weeds, if they give attention to the unwanted plants, the weeds grow. If they carefully nurture the seeds that represent their vision, the flowers, the fruits, the harvest they want, those are the things that thrive. Your mind works the same way. The questions you ask yourself, the thoughts you dwell on, the images you visualize, and the conversations you allow in your head, all of that is planting seeds. And those seeds will either produce fruit or grow weeds, depending on what you feed them. Most people don't understand the magnitude of this. They think small actions, small habits, small choices are insignificant, but in reality, they compound. Every time you choose to focus on something that serves your highest vision, you are reinforcing your power, you are rewiring your brain, and you are creating momentum. Momentum is invisible at first, but it grows until it becomes unstoppable. And the more momentum you have focused on the right things, the easier life becomes, the more doors open, the more opportunities appear, and the more confident and capable you feel. There's another layer to this that most people miss, and it's critical. Focus doesn't just shape your external results, it shapes your internal state. Your physiology, your energy, your emotional state, everything is influenced by where your attention goes. If you focus on what's missing, on what you fear, on what you resent, you will feel stressed, anxious, and powerless. If you focus on what you can control, on what you can create, on gratitude and possibility, your energy shifts immediately. Your confidence rises, your clarity sharpens, and your capacity to act grows exponentially. That is why focus is not just a tool for success. It is the foundation of your emotional and psychological well-being. Let's talk about a practical application, because ideas without action are useless. Start noticing where your attention goes each day. Are you scrolling through social media, absorbing negativity, dwelling on problems you can't control? Or are you intentionally focusing on what you want to grow, what you want to create, what aligns with your highest vision? You need to be ruthless about this. Protect your focus like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Set boundaries, eliminate distractions, and spend more time feeding the things that matter. Visualize your goals with vivid clarity. Engage deeply with the people and experiences that elevate you, and take massive, deliberate action in the direction of your dreams. Here's the kicker. Focus is contagious. When you consistently focus on what matters, it affects the people around you, it attracts the right opportunities, and it creates an environment where success is inevitable. Conversely, unfocused energy spreads confusion, doubt, and stagnation. You are either intentionally directing your life or unconsciously allowing life to direct you. That is the choice. And that choice is made every single day, every hour, every moment. The beauty of this universal rule is that it doesn't require perfect circumstances. You don't need approval, permission, or a perfect plan. You just need awareness, discipline, and action. When you start to consistently focus on what you want to grow, the universe, your mind, your energy, your actions, and even the people and resources around you begins to respond. Things start to shift in ways that seem almost magical to those who are still drifting, but for those who understand the principle, it's simply the natural outcome of attention and energy applied consistently. The moment you embrace the power of focus, you step into true control of your life. You no longer blame circumstances, people, or luck. You understand that everything you see in your life today is a reflection of your past focus and choices, and everything you will experience tomorrow is a reflection of the focus and energy you choose right now. Let's talk about responsibility, because this is where transformation begins. Most people go through life blaming circumstances, blaming other people, blaming luck, or blaming the past for why they are not where they want to be. And while it may feel justified in the moment, it is also completely disempowering. You see, the moment you assign blame externally, you give away your power. You tell the universe, you tell yourself that your life is controlled by factors outside of your control. And that, my friends, is a lie that keeps so many people trapped in mediocrity. True freedom, true transformation starts the moment you take responsibility for everything in your life. I don't just mean taking responsibility for your actions. That's obvious. Most people understand that much. What I mean is taking responsibility for your focus, your energy, your beliefs, your emotions, and the choices you make moment to moment. Every decision you make, every thought you entertain, every action you take or fail to take, it all matters. And when you fully accept this, when you embrace this with no excuses, you gain an incredible power, the power to shape your life in any way you choose. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a gift. It is the key that unlocks your potential. When you stop blaming circumstances, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. You stop asking for someone else to rescue you. And in that moment, you step into your own power. You realize that your results, your destiny, your life is a product of the decisions you make, the actions you take, and the focus you maintain. That realization is liberating, but it's also humbling, because it means you can never play the victim again. You can never hand your power to someone else and expect to create extraordinary results. Let me give you a simple but profound example. Think about anyone who is struggling in their career, their relationships, or their health. They complain, they feel frustrated, and they say, only my boss was different. If only my spouse understood me. If only I had more time or resources, then I could succeed. That's the voice of someone giving away their power. Now imagine someone else in exactly the same situation who says, I may not control my boss, my spouse, or my circumstances, but I control my thoughts, my decisions, and my actions. And that is enough to change everything. That person immediately steps into a place of power. They start looking for solutions. They start taking action. They start creating momentum, and slowly but surely, their life begins to shift in ways that feel impossible to those still blaming external factors. Responsibility also means owning your past without letting it define your future. Many people are trapped by memories, mistakes, failures, or regrets. They say, I can't because of what happened to me, or I'm limited because of how I was treated. And while the past may have shaped you, it does not have to imprison you. You can honor the past, learn from it, and then consciously decide that it will no longer dictate your choices. Every day you wake up, you get to decide what story you will live, what beliefs you will embrace, and what actions you will take. That is responsibility in its purest form. It is the act of claiming your power back from your history, from your circumstances, from anyone or anything that tried to hold you down. Taking responsibility also requires courage. It requires looking in the mirror and being brutally honest with yourself. It requires acknowledging where you have made excuses, where you have settled, where you have allowed fear to control your decisions. And here's the paradox. The more honest you are, the more empowered you become. Because the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, is always liberating. It shows you exactly where you are, and that clarity gives you the roadmap for exactly where you need to go. Without responsibility, without that brutal honesty, you are like a ship drifting in the ocean without a rudder, at the mercy of waves and winds, hoping to reach a destination that may never come. Responsibility is also the seed of confidence. When you take full ownership of your life, you stop waiting for others to validate you. You stop seeking approval. You stop needing external conditions to feel capable or worthy. You recognize that the only thing that truly matters is your commitment to yourself, your willingness to act, and your consistency in living in alignment with your highest values. And that confidence becomes magnetic. People notice it. Opportunities appear. Challenges that once seemed insurmountable become stepping stones. Because when you own your life, you operate from a place of unstoppable power and clarity. And finally, taking responsibility transforms fear into fuel. Fear exists because we feel powerless. When you step into responsibility, fear loses its grip because you recognize that you are not a victim. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are the creator of your life, and every challenge is simply an invitation to step up, grow, and become stronger. That shift in perspective is what separates those who live extraordinary lives from those who drift through existence, wondering why they never achieved their full potential.